always about the Swifties, except
No.
welcome to True Crime segment for the week. And we're it's been a busy week, unfortunately. So we're just gonna plunge right in. We have our guest Josh Marshall, who is a golf expert and now a true crime extraordinaire. So thank you for joining in, Josh, and I look forward to getting your input on all these uncomfortable topics that we have this week.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and
It's
why there are vegetables on the side. I needed something that felt a little less tense than all the darkness I had to cover.
I
So
thought you were like talking about things are spicy for the pepper.
no, yeah, a little levity, okay? I didn't want to put the dogs again, but next week maybe we'll have to bring out the cute puppies again. But okay,
Perhaps.
so what can we possibly do without first talking about the Kansas City parade shooting? First and foremost, our hearts are with the individuals who passed, were injured, and otherwise hurt by the incident. Yeah, so that is the stance we're taking at the Fort Ball and Tailgate update, just to point out that we are, first and foremost, just thinking about the victims and how horrific this was. So our hearts are with them. It feels important to make that really clear, since a lot of the stories that we talk about are individuals doing really dumb things, and in this instance it's the levity, the gravity is so much higher. So yeah, so anyway, there's two teenage, I believe they're minors, who are, well, originally three were arrested, but one was let go when they determined that he wasn't involved with the shooting. But so there's two juvenile teens in custody right now. It may have occurred due to a dispute. We don't know like exactly what happened, but police chief Stacy Graves said that 22 people were injured on Wednesday, ranging between 8 and 47 years old, with half of the injured people under 16, and a mother of two was killed. The woman was identified by the radio station yeah, so she worked for the radio station KKFI-FM. It was Miss Lisa Lopez Galvin, the mother of two. And she was the host of Tejano. So if you're familiar to that area, that was the woman who passed away. Her DJ name was Lisa G. She was an extrovert and a devoted mom from a prominent Latino family in the area. I'm reading this from her her friends spoke about this. Said her friend Rosa is Urieta and Martha Ramirez, two childhood friends who worked with her at a staffing company, and they said she's the type of person who would jump in front of a bullet for anybody. That would be Lisa. So very sweet words from Miss Rosa. Yeah, no charges have been filed yet. And the police are looking for others who may have been involved and are calling for witnesses, victims, and people with cell phone video of the violence to call a dedicated hotline. The hotline number is 816-413-3477. The Kansas City Police are also working with the FBI, and you can send any evidence you might have to fbi.gov /KC _ Super Bowl _ parade. The shooting outside the station occurred despite the presence of more than 800 police officers who were in the building and area, including people on top of nearby structures. And Mayor Quentin Lucas, who attended with his wife and mom, said that they don't plan on canceling the upcoming St. Patrick's Day parade. And so we'll keep up with how they plan on, even though it's so heavily staffed by police officers, how this still happened and what they're going to do about that in the future. But anyways, A video taken from a building nearby showed thousands of fans milling about in a park in front of Union Station. And as the shots ring out and repeat, they suddenly scatter and are screaming. Um, some of those who flee return to help people on the street. Um, and people continue to scatter even after the firearm fire stops. But apparently, because it was such a big group, some fans had no idea what was actually happening. Some thought it was firecrackers. So it's sort of like a lot of mass confusion. Um, we're gonna shout out a hero here. Trey Filter, a bystander, was walking to the car with his family when he heard yells of "Get him!" So Filter, who's 40, saw a fleeing person. Um, and so him and another bystander tackled the individual. And he jumped on top of the person. And Trey said, "I don't know what the hell I was thinking." We was like, "We got him. I'll always remember that." And then they started screaming, "There's a firearm." He didn't say that, but the three-letter word he said, but you get the idea. So then the firearm goes flying and fell near his wife, Casey, who picked it up. And at the point, the fleeing person was under a dog pile about 10 feet away, buried in like individuals. So um Trey, who lives outside Wichita, Kansas, was still processing the melee Thursday, but he was glad that there wasn't more carnage. And he said, and I quote, "I'm sure there was 1,000 other men that would have done it." To which I say, no, there wasn't. But I appreciate his confidence in the human race and that he did step up. Um, yeah, so the rally had just ended and the music was still blaring when the shots started. Um, Yeah, some people hit the ground while others leaped over barriers and sprinted. Some carried children in their arms. Um, so then ambulance arrived, officers rushed in, and some of us injured were driven away on golf carts. Um, and the stunned crowd, reacted. Strangers comforted each other as police put up crime scene tape. Um, Hank Hunter, a Kansas high school sophomore, said he had heard shots in the distance while watching the rally with a friend. Initially, they didn't know what it was, but then, like a chain reaction, people started hitting the ground. They ran to jump over a barricade, and his friend slammed his head into the concrete. A security guard ushered his friend into the Union Station, which was close to the general public, as the Chiefs players and coaches prepared to leave on buses. And Andy Reid actually consoled Hunter's friend, high school friend, and said he and Hunter described it as Andy Reid consoling him and trying to comfort him and calm him down, which is really sweet. Um, so there's a lot of evidence left behind, so they're examining that, shell casings and the like. Um, there's an unspecified number of firearms that they had collected from the scene, which is disconcerting. And then one witness said he overheard an altercation before the shooting where a woman told the presumed shooter, "Don't do it, not here. This is stupid." And then he said the person pulled out the firearm and started shooting and spinning in a circle. Um, so then Kansas City Chiefs offensive lineman Trey Smith told ABC he found shelter in a closet and guided others to safety, and he also helped calm scared kids, as did cornerback Legarius Sneed, which means he's never going to be overrated ever again, Ryan. Um, like you said in the other segment, he's a hero. So my take is I feel a sense of warmth in my cold little heart over the sense of community and support for one another. Um, I did work at a college and had someone call in to threaten to do a school shooting and was targeting our department. Um, It was one of the most scary moments of your life, and everything starts to kind of flash before your face, like, your entire life flashes before your eyes, and you're like, "This could literally be it," and I can't even fathom because the person never actually came. I can't even fathom what it would be like to be in an actual circumstance where someone is actively shooting into the crowd, so, it's one of the most traumatizing moments in my life, and I don't think we're so used to it happening that we don't really always discuss like how truly horrific it is, but yeah, my heart is with um all of the individuals in this scenario. So I think that's all I have on that one. Anyone else have anything?
Just another reason why this country's so screwed up. One of many reasons. But it definitely sucked to see that. Like you're there to celebrate
Yeah.
another Super Bowl win for the city, and then it just turns into this. And
Yeah.
two people happen to die, which,
One person died, two people were arrested.
well, actually, a second one was pronounced dead at the hospital in surgery.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh no.
So,
there's a
but
bunch of wounded, I think.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, yep. All right. So we were gonna start with that because it is the most important and um sometimes we maybe joke around with dark topics because it to kind of cope with it, but there's nothing that could possibly there's not a serious enough moment to discuss this, and we wanted to respect it and did so by discussing it first. But now we're gonna talk about Wes Phillips. Um, look at this man because he started with like this full head of hair looking healthy, and then now look at him. Like alcohol has really done one on him. That's all I'm gonna say. But so Minnesota Vikings OC Wes Phillips has entered a guilty plea stemming from a 2023 traffic stop in Minneapolis. Um as part of an agreement with prosecutors, Phillips is going to plead guilty to an amended charge of misdemeanor careless driving. He's going to pay a $300 fine and a $78 surcharge, blah, blah, blah. 8 hours of community work at a nonprofit. And today, he was supposed to show up in court to like agree to the plea deal or whatever. So, on December 8th of 2023, Phillips was stopped on an interstate at approximately 9:45 p.m. He showed signs of impairment, and ultimately his blood alcohol content tested at 0.10, which is above the legal limit. And he was booked into jail and released early the next morning. And he went to Las Vegas later that day with his team and performed his normal duties. So that's the most NFL thing about it. Is just he just bailed out of jail and then was like, all right, going with the team. So Ryan, do you have any thoughts about Wes? He was a Rams something for a while, so
Is he in relation to Wade?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I don't know who the hell this guy was.
Yeah. Well, he was the Minnesota Vikings offensive coordinator. So that's
No, no, I meant like when he was with the
oh,
Rams. Like, I have
yeah.
no idea who the hell he was.
Yeah, it's his son, Ryan. It's
Is
Wade's
it?
son. Yep.
Well, how the mighty fall.
Coach Wade is disappointed.
Yeah. We're all disappointed because you do not need to call an Uber, everyone. Call an Uber. Okay.
Amen.
The Denver Broncos, a study analyzed players' arrest data, which I definitely keep up with this, but anyway, from each professional football team from 2000 to the present. And based on the study, the Minnesota Vikings, like we just discussed, have the worst behaved players. And since 2000, the team has seen players be arrested 60 times, and this arrest rate is over 80% higher than the average in the NFL. But right after the Vikings is the Denver Broncos. They've seen 56 arrests since 2000, which makes them the second most badly behaved team. Um, and they were arrested 68.28% more than the average NFL franchise. Um, the Bengals came in third place, and y'all want to guess who is the lowest number of arrests at just 17 in the last 24 years?
Rams.
The lowest? The Giants?
No, I think y'all have some selection bias here.
Seahawks.
Got another one, Josh?
Titans.
Freaking Patriots.
That was closer. It's the Houston Texans.
Oh, no kidding.
Let's see that
Yeah.
too.
So
Yeah, they're the newest team in the league.
yeah, but it's still from 2000 to 2024, so it's the same time frame.
True.
Yep, I know. So I mean, okay, maybe some people were less shooketh by this, but I was completely shooketh by the like aggression, both physically and verbally, that Kelsey came at Reed with. I mean, it literally, I could not believe what I was seeing. And so we're gonna talk about it. People like Favre are coming for Kelsey. He said emotions play a big part of it, and sometimes they get the best of you, and that's what happened there. It was just the biggest stage in the football world, and he does that to arguably and maybe the greatest coach in history. You just can't do that. Agreed. And then Whitlock, I don't think that's a former player. I don't have his first name. Took the criticism a step further, saying Kelsey was a prime example of how respect for authority and head coaches is diminishing across the board. Probably also true.
You said Whitlock?
Yeah.
Andrew Whitlock?
I don't know.
I know there's a Whitlock that does Fox Sports TV. And he's a talking
Yeah.
head.
I think so. It was on a podcast and I forgot to get the name.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just never want to hear anything from Favre because he stole millions from a welfare fund for the poorest state in the United States and still hasn't paid the money back yet. So, like, even if he makes the best point ever, I like ew. But anyways, so Andy, who has already reassured us that it was no big deal. So he said to ESPN, he caught me off balance. I wasn't watching. He was really coming over and saying, just put me in, I'll score, I'll score. So that's really what it was. I love that. It's not the first time. I appreciate him. So Andy Reid is in the cycle of abuse as the head coach of the yeah. He said he keeps me young. He tested that hip out and he caught me off balance. Normally I give him a little bit, but I didn't have my feet under me. Jesus. He's gonna have
I
to
think
get
it's
another
just.
surgery if Travis doesn't chill out.
I think it was more of the chest bump that
Yes.
did it for a lot of people. Like I get its passion, but like Billy just walked up to him and bumped him. But I mean,
Yeah.
he did own up to it afterwards.
But I guess he said it's not the first time. He just was taken aback by it because he couldn't get his balance. I'm like, what in the hell is going on over there?
A winning culture.
Yeah, I could
That's right.
not fathom. It wasn't so much the yelling, although I was taken aback by that. It was the physical, that it got physical. I couldn't fathom it. So when asked about that after the Super Bowl, he said, "Oh, you guys saw that? Man, it was. I'm going to keep that between us unless my mic'd up tells the world. But I was just telling him how much I love him." And Travis said, "Andy is one of the best leaders of men I've ever seen in my life," which is why he did that. Jason Kelsey talked about it on their New Heights podcast, saying he went too far. And then Travis said, "I can't get that fired up to the point where bumping coach and it's getting him off balance and stuff." When he stumbled, I was like, "Oh shit," in my head. And Travis has the Swifties and a tizzy too. They're saying that Taylor's Bo has some red flags with this kind of file. And I
He's a
can't help but
football
laugh.
player.
Yeah, I can't help but laugh because of how many people we actually talk about that get their cans kicked by their significant partners. But like, so this feels kind of low on the list. But anyway, yep. So the Swifties are losing their mind for the millionth time.
Is it because he doesn't quaff his hair and play a guitar?
I think it's just because he physically attacked his coach. So Jason said that his brother had crossed the line and that his yelling in Reed's face is too over the top. I do appreciate the accountability at least. And Travis said the incident was a cheap shot, adding that he wishes he could have taken it back. He said that Reed came up to him after the incident and he didn't have any harsh words for him, which Kelsey was expecting. He said, I deserved it. If he would have cold cocked me in the face right there, I would have just ate it. I would have been like, let's fucking go. Instead, Reed told him that he loved Kelsey's passion and that it had fired him up even more to get a win for him. And Tom Brady spoke in about this. He said the encounter was typical NFL family issues and something he was a part of regularly. Oh, Lord. And he said emotions are so high. You are definitely not centered and balanced. You're not in a meditative state at that point. You are fully determined to go out there and to win. So I think a lot of the things that are said during the games, people should just let them fly off their back. And I actually think Coach Reed handled it just awesome, like he always does. Because he said I was a little off balance and Travis is such a competitor. And I love that because it just speaks to his leadership ability. Interesting take from can Brady like let us know if like it's the physical part that he's used to his like condoning of the situation. I'm like, what is going on behind the scenes around here? But
Tom's had his fair share of screaming matches with coordinators and such.
yeah, there's screaming matches and there's bumping someone.
Well,
And,
by the
like,
time the coordinator
shoving.
gets over to Tom, he's already on the bench.
It's truly, I'm like, so I think we all agree that it's over the top, but I just like some people are like, this is the worst thing ever. Some people are like, this is how it always goes. And I'm like, this is scary if this is how it always goes. But
A
anyway,
man with a lot of emotion speed walked over his coach, caught him off guard, and accidentally belly bumped him.
yeah, no, he didn't accidentally belly bump him. He got into his face and like physically imposed himself and then hit him with his body. So let's just be clear about that.
So he walrus bumped him, and everybody's losing their mind.
A little bit, because I look like we've discussed in the past, like the authority and like having respect for your head coaches, and like I'm
Yeah.
little indifferent about like the whole Dennis Allen thing. Like I'm fine with that, but I think when it starts to get physical is when I'm like, this is insane. Like when does this ever happen? And like how is this something that we're just like saying, oh, it's just a little bump. Like he could have knocked this man over. Like it's crazy to me. But anyway, like I understand sharing words, having passionate feelings, but when we start to get physical is when I'm like, what is going on out there? It really makes Andy Reid look like a bitch too. Like he's like he gets shoved around by his players. Like
Are we really thinking Andy Reid doesn't have control of the Chiefs after this?
I'm not saying that because I think he does have a command of his team, but it definitely speaks to like Kelsey's ability, like his self-control, his like emotions, like and you don't just like do that to someone without feeling like you can. So like if he was really like scared of Reed or like had the authority with Reed like one would expect Reed to have, then he wouldn't have felt comfortable doing this. So I think it does speak a little bit to the locker room. Because imagine doing that to like again like Vince Lombardi. Like he's gonna actually kill you.
Well, that was also the 60s,
Yeah, I know. But I'm just
where
saying
he
like
probably killed a man with his thumb. So
and like what like okay, even in the 90s, can you see this happening? Like it's uncomfortable. I don't know. But I'm not gonna like keep harping on it or like Kelsey is an awful person and like a scary partner. I don't think that's true. I mean, he could lay hands on Taylor, but I wouldn't say it's because of this event. I mean, we certainly hear about this all the time in this league, so that's not shocking to me. But to me, this doesn't like relate. But at the same time, like when it got physical, I just couldn't believe that it went that far. And I think it does speak to like the overall like culture and speaks to Kelsey's like complete lack of self-control. So
well,
which we know about because he got into so many fights, especially like during the off season. And at some point, like you got to rein that in, sir. Like it's a little out of pocket. But anyways, Eddie Balfour. So
the Eagle.
yeah, so bear with me because this story goes through about a 20-year loop. But so we're gonna start with 2000. Okay, we're in 2000. The study just started where they're analyzing NFL players getting arrested. But anyway, so the goalie for Dallas Stars. He was arrested for the first time um, at a fashionable hotel after getting an employee in a headlock when he was intoxicated in 2000, um, because Belfour was allegedly groping a woman, and the man tried to stop him, and then he put him in a headlock. Yeah, the 50-year-old man, and Belfour refused to let go of him. And an officer had to use pepper spray before the goalie was taken into custody, and he was spitting and kicking after the pepper spray as they led him away from this man. Um, and then it's also said that Belfour began attempting to lay down in the seat while he had his seatbelt on and put his cowboy boots on the radio console of the police car, and then he threw up all over himself in the car.
Oh,
Anyways, so what's kind of shocking, what they've been talking about recently again for some reason, is that he turned to bribery. First, he tried to give them $100,000 to release him from custody, but then he said he'd pay $1 billion in exchange for his freedom. It was very dramatic.
$1
He
billion
spent
dollars?
$1 billion. Yep. He spent 6 hours in jail before being released on charges of resisting arrest. He didn't get any charges for bribery because they thought it wasn't a realistic amount. He got a $3,000 fine. And he had to apologize to the police and the Stars. So then, in 2007, he got arrested again in a Miami Beach bar, when he was playing for the Florida Panthers. When security guards asked him to leave because he was being belligerent, he shoved an officer and then tried to run. Or refused to avoid, he tried to avoid being apprehended. Anyway, so, yeah, so he got 20 hours of community service for that. And then in 2020, more recently, he was charged with criminal mischief and public intoxication in Kentucky. Yeah, so at the Kentucky Grand Hotel and Spa at about 1 a.m. In Bowling Green, the police were called because he was lying on a floor near a second floor elevator, clutching a curtain rod that had been ripped out of the drywall, and he kicked the door to the spa. And he had been locked in the spa. He couldn't get back out. And he started a fight with the bar manager, and then he hit a window. And he could hardly stand up, had slurred speech and bloodshot eyes, and he smelled strongly of alcohol. And so I forget why, but recently in the news they were talking about again about his $1 billion request to get out. But then, fascinatingly enough, last year Belfour and his son Dane launched Belfour Spirits, a line of whiskeys. And one of the limited edition ryes topped with a sterling silver replica Stanley Cup and a nod to the goalies championships with the Stars. So Eddie hit the news again. And we just went through 20 years of this man's chaotic life, including his alcohol line, which seems so fitting. You know, sometimes you're like, why does somebody try to get into this? We understand with Eddie. All right. So this is wild to me because Royce Clayton has a relationship to Rebecca Grossman and Scott Erickson, who we've been talking about, the ongoing lawsuit. So this man somehow, he was sucked into that, and he also has his own shenanigans, so we'll get into it. So Royce Clayton was arrested on last Sunday, on suspicion of driving under the influence. And I feel like this is kind of ironic because the former shortstop was recently caught up in the drama surrounding the Rebecca Grossman case, when she emmed the two young boys in the crosswalk, because he testified at her trial that he was drinking margaritas with her and Scott Erickson in September 2020, the day that she ran over the boys, allegedly. So Clayton was taken into custody and he was, yeah, booked on suspicion of driving under the influence. So, and he was one of the first witnesses in Grossman's trial, and he let her. His important part to speak about is, that she was drinking before she hit the kids. But it's just like what a tangled web we weave. Because one, this man saw a woman was right drank with a person right before they killed two kids in a car driving under the influence, and then he has the nerve to do it again later, but then somehow he managed to get himself wrapped into this testimony of this case, and it's like, how do all these things come together? I don't know, but they did. Y'all like how I did the tomato here? It seemed like the color coordination was like on point. Yes. So the NBA, I don't know if y'all heard about it, but there's a whole crypto scandal. Y'all hear about that? Okay.
I have in the past something like it.
No, ma'am, I have not.
Yeah, and then you're right, probably Josh, because this has been going on for a while. In an escalating legal situation, the NBA is currently facing litigation for its alleged role in endorsing the Voyager Digital Holdings, a now defunct cryptocurrency exchange business. And they said that the NBA's promotional activities resulted in significant investor losses, over $4.2 billion. Central to the controversy is the marketing agreement that was executed between the Voyager, the company, and the Dallas Mavericks, an NBA franchise. And the NBA is implicated as a responsible party due to its approval of the arrangement. So, as a result, the litigants say that the NBA should bear liability for all damages attributed to its promotion. Because the Dallas Mavericks worked with this company. So they are on the hook for $4.2 billion, which feels like a lot, especially for the NBA. But
Seriously.
yeah, this
Wow.
is Sammy Friedman, by the way, in case you're wondering. I believe that's his first name. He's the kid who, yeah, the whole crypto thing. I don't really know that much because I don't keep that much of a track of it, but he lost like billions of dollars for the crypto. So he was in jail. But so it'll be really interesting to see if they'll be able to keep the NBA, the league as a whole, accountable for what one team did because they allowed the team to do so. And it makes sense that they're suing the NBA and not just the Dallas Mavericks because the Mavericks probably don't have it and they want the money, so they're going to go to the big dogs. So, yeah. We have
Gotcha.
ourselves a crypto scandal.
Was that mushrooms in the background of that?
Yeah.
I thought it was garlic to begin with.
We have the vegetable thing going. Okay, so Bryn Forbes, y'all know about him?
Michigan
Maybe.
State legend. Lost to
Yeah.
Syracuse.
Yes. Yep. So he's in trouble again for laying hands on the ladies again. He previously played for the Spurs, Bucks, Spurs again, the Nuggets, and then the Timberwolves. He was arrested last Tuesday and jailed on a charge of assaulting his ex by taking the air from her with his hands, if y'all know what I'm saying. A third-degree felony. He wrapped those meaty paws around her neck. Forbes 30 is still in jail on a $7,500 bond. We don't know if he has an attorney yet. So it was responding to a preliminary report at 2:17 a.m. on Monday. And the woman was able to get away and notify the police. He fled the scene and then had to be arrested the following day. And this is the second time because in February 2023, he was arrested on suspicion of laying hands on another lady. So, last week we didn't really have any cases of DV. And so I was like, well, we can't go 2 weeks without somebody laying hands. So Bryn broke that record for us.
It's like, what's with these pro athletes putting their hands on women like
Women
that for? Like, seriously.
Constantly. And they always he's not the first one to try to run away afterwards. Like they're not gonna find him after that.
Right.
Yeah, unless you're dating a WNBA player, like he's gonna be taller, stronger. I mean, he's gonna be stronger anyway because as an athlete, he's gonna be men are stronger than women the vast majority of the time. But like, most likely, she's much smaller than him, so it's, like, really unimpressive, obviously. It's never impressive, but, um, yeah. Ew. So, we got Isaiah Stewart here. This is the guy that Caleb was talking about. The Detroit Pistons forward. He was arrested, and cited with an altercation with a Phoenix Suns player prior to Wednesday's NBA game between the two teams. He was arrested for assault and was issued a citation and released, after he punched Drew Eubanks. Stewart, 22, is in his fourth season with the Pistons, and Eubanks, 27, is a forward for the Suns. It happened around 4:45 p.m. At the Footprint Center in Phoenix, in the tunnel of the arena's parking lot. So an argument between the two players escalated and led to Stewart punching Eubanks. He has a minor injury, and the two men were separated by the police. So
He's
the
gonna find his
Suns,
way out of the league soon if he keeps this shit up. It's not the first time he's been in some kind of trouble like this.
yeah, we're gonna talk about that actually. So the Sun spokesperson spoke up really quickly to CNN, saying the attack on Eubanks was unprovoked and acts of violence such as these are unacceptable. Um, yeah, and we unequivocally support Drew and continue to work with local law enforcement and the NBA. And then the Pistons said that they're aware of the incident and are in the process of gathering information about what happened and what provoked it and responding to the NBA and local authorities. Um, and Piston, the Pistons head coach Monty Williams said he and other team officials had talked to Stewart, who gave him his side of the story, and then Williams lambasted the Suns for the statement they released after the incident because I think that is irresponsible, he said. I think there's a time for information to be gathered and then you can make a statement. And the Suns head coach Frank Vogel did not comment on the actual altercation, but said there's no place for anything like that in our game. And Josh, you're correct. This is not the first time. Stewart was involved in an on-court altercation in 2021 with superstar LeBron James, who made contact with the Pistons player's face. And James was suspended for a game without pay for the first time in his career as a result. So he got feisty with LeBron James, which is never a good idea. And this is he wasn't even playing in the game. He had been like ruled out of playing because of an ankle sprain, so he was just beefing with people on the outside. So we'll keep an eye on this, but that's like overtly like that's just a lot. Like he out here punching players like before games. So yeah. Kyle Walker, I don't know if y'all heard about this one, but there's some scandal here. I gotta say, soccer is either really good at hiding their scandals or they just don't have as many because they are not really giving a lot for me. But he apologized to his pregnant wife and says he needs to own up to his mistakes after fathering two children with another woman. He is married to Manchester City and England defender Walker, 33, has been married to Annie Kilner since 2022. They met 12 years before their wedding day when he was just 17, and they now have 3 children together with a fourth on the way. However, he also has 2 children with a model and influencer, Lauren Goodman, a son born in 2020 and a daughter born in 2023. Walker's wife took him back after learning about the affair with Goodman and the one kid, but then when she found out about the second kid, she's like, nah. So he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. So then there's a lot of yeah, so this is the big scandal for the MLB of the week. Wait, not MLB, the English Premier League, because he said Kilner's allowed living with his 3 children while he's kicked out of the house. He's in the doghouse. And he said, what he's done is horrible and I take full responsibility. I made idiot choices and idiot decisions. I can't begin to imagine what Annie is going through. I've tried to ask her, but there's pain and hurt. Yeah, she's pregnant with your baby, fuckface. Anyways, um, so We always love a good paternity scandal, and here's one. We'll keep up with Kyle Walker. So Jackson Mahomes. This is called redemption, maybe kinda. So I'm gonna make a note to self here. People are multi-dimensional and multiple things can be true at once. Because Jackson Mahomes won over a Chiefs fan for how he helped others during Wednesday's horrific shooting that we already discussed at the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl parade. The Twitter user wrote, or X wrote on Wednesday, I don't care what anyone says, but I found a newfound respect for Jackson. Anna and I were stuck hiding with him at Union Station by the trains, and he was taking care of a child who lost his parents and helping him calm down. And many were still surprised that Mahomes was there since all of the stars had already like left the area for the most part. But he was, and he was comforting a child who was separated from his parents. So take from that what you will. And Chandler Jones has apologized to us for all his shenanigans. For example, like violating the protection order from the mother of his child and like burning clothes in a trash bin while she was naked in her yard. So, anyways, just all those kind of fun things. He tells us over the past few months, I've been dealing with some personal matters, but I'm happy to share that I'm feeling much better now. He lets us know via Twitter X. I want to express my heartfelt gratitude to my family, friends, and fans for your unwavering love and support. Additionally, I want to offer a sincere apology to anyone I may have unintentionally offended. Your understanding and support means the world to me. Ryan, how does that make you feel?
I get warm butterflies inside.
Josh, do you feel the sincerity there?
Kind of. I mean, the past history that he's had, I'm not quite sure what exactly to think, if I'm being honest, because you never know if you could just flip back and go the exact opposite way again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because CT doesn't go away. So,
Like I can count how like Antonio Brown's apologized a couple times, and like a week later he's back in the news.
oh my God, don't even get me started on him because he's in this segment far too often. Do y'all have any thoughts about the redeeming trait that Jackson Mahomes had? Because now we know that he essays women, allegedly. And but he also is a child saver during a parade, so that's nice, I guess.
I'd say it's I give him credit for doing what he did. I think that was great of him, great example to show, but I mean it doesn't change the fact like what he's done in the past doesn't just automatically make up for all that. I think it just shows like him doing something like heroic, doing something that a lot of people can look at and maybe have some different opinions about him, but not completely change his image.
God, well said, Josh. Like, cannot say it better myself. That was perfect. That's exactly right. Ryan, do you agree? Do you disagree?
To an extent, yeah. I still think he's got
I think he's
fame.
wearing makeup too in this photo.
He is.
Yeah.
Still got some issues going on, and I still think he's a piece of shit, but good for him doing what he did.
Yeah, absolutely. So, drunk driving allegedly. Uh Patrick
Allegedly.
Mahomes Sr. here. We have him in the corner. He has this dour look on his face, which got him some negativity this week. He was present at the Super Bowl with his kids and his grandkids. Two two of his kids. He has kids with another woman and they weren't there, but so Patrick and Jackson, and then Patrick Mahomes, his mom, she has her child with someone else, and she was also there. So their family tree is a lot. But anyways, that's not even that confusing. It's just I'm brain dead today. So yeah, there's a photo that caught the father and son sharing a hug after the win, which was sweet because so many people were like, is he even going to be able to be there? And then Mahomes Sr. was knocked by fans in a family photo with two of his sons and Brittany and the two grandkids. And Patrick's mom, Randy, and her teenage daughter from a relationship, like I said. He looks like he's taking another mugshot and like he hates his life because he literally has this face as everybody else is smiling. Anyways, I have to say leave this man alone and leave Patrick alone too. And parents can be tools, as we all know, but they're still ours, whether they're idiots or not. And parents can also look like they hate their lives, and that's okay. He might be serious lately, considering he's facing 10 years in jail. So that could, dampen the spirits of. I thought people were gonna be coming for him because he like had a photo of him drinking at the Super Bowl after the DUI. No, he just looked like he hated his life. Like, okay, like let this man do what he needs to do. So, Scott Erickson, Rebecca Grossman, we were talking about this. Allegedly ran over the two kids, 8 years old and 11 years old in September 2020. So we've been talking about the court case, or Rebecca's getting her feet held to the fire and is facing 34 years in jail, for running the kids over. Anyways, as a little update for the case, the prosecution has rested and the defense has taken over on Tuesday, February 13th. Her husband let us know because we thought he looked like a very sad man, but apparently they have some kind of like an open marriage, so he's totally cool with her like going with Scott Erickson over here, so that's nice. They decided to open things up after 20 years of holy matrimony in 2020. So a friend of Grossman's daughter, who was a teenager at the time, testified to the horrific incident that she described as a war zone. And multiple people saw the children getting mowed down, which is just like super traumatizing. Anyways, Grossman was not drunk according to the debatable sobriety field tests and likely was under the legal limit, but she also had Valium in her system with the alcohol, so that's great. And her defense is pointing every possible finger available at Erickson. Because he had the same license plates on two vehicles, which is a felony. And they keep saying that he was actually hit the kids, even though we know that Rebecca hit the kids, so I don't even know why we're arguing this point, but here we are. So we'll see if she gets the 34 years or not. And Janarius Robinson over here, we were talking about him last week because he was on the Vegas Strip and he had a DUI. He was arrested Tuesday. Not this last, like the 5th or something, like back then, on suspicion of a DUI. And he allegedly hit a woman with the car, which we did not know at the time when we talked about it last week. According to David Charnes of 8 News Now, police said in their report that they were called to the area resort and casino early Tuesday morning. A woman was struck and then became pinned between two cars. And she left before the officers arrived, and so her injuries weren't documented, so we don't actually know what happened, like if she's okay or not. She just dipped out. So Robinson, who's driving the car, allegedly appeared intoxicated and smelled of alcohol. He was mumbling and his body was slightly swaying side to side, even though he told people he had only drank 2 drinks. It's always 2 drinks, by the way. When somebody's lying about how many drinks they've had, they always say 2. So that's just how you already know. He had 2 drinks starting at 10 and stopped drinking at 11, but that was nearly 7 hours before the collision. Yeah, and he was heading to a different casino, I think. So he's arrested on a misdemeanor charge and the judge released him on his own recognizance and he's expected back in court on June 4th. So there's the follow-up on Janarius here. Any thoughts, gentlemen, besides get an Uber?
I think getting Uber is pretty straightforward, self-explanatory enough.
Do you have an Uber where you live, Ryan, out in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah,
No, I'm asking because my hometown near Seattle-ish, near-ish, uh like there's only like 3 Ubers and they're super expensive and like they never come. So I'm like I feel like catching one depending on what city you live in can be kind of a lot. But that's why you call it taxi. I'm not excusing anything, but I was
Okay,
just curious about the
so, like,
Ubering.
I think it's like not specifically where I live, but like 40 minutes the other way. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so that sounds like a very
I
accurate.
never have to call one, so I don't know.
We just want to show how much of a hayseed Ryan is. That's all.
I
Perfect.
am gonna interrupt for just a minute. I did mention to Ryan earlier that I had to go at 7:30. Um, so I apologize for interrupting for that, but I just wanted to let you guys know before I
Sure.
just randomly left.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
absolutely.
definitely, Josh.
but thank you guys for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
Julie,
you.
definitely.
it was great to meet you too,
Yes, thank you.
for sure. Yeah, but yeah, thank you again, guys. Have a good night, Ryan. It was good to see you, man. Julie, again, nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining in. We'll have to have you back.
I would love to be back.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Bye.
See ya.
Okay. We're nearing Ryan.
All right, let's speed run this.
Okay, simmer down. Canadian Junior Hockey League, they're in the hot seat again because they're allowing a match official who was accused of R, if you know what I mean, I've continued to officiate games.
Tape,
What?
tape.
Yes. Tape that starts with R. Yep. Um, he officiated a couple games in 2022 and 2023, despite being like charged. So he was under investigation by Hockey Canada's investigatory independent third party following the R allegation and was on suspension that should have prevented him from being anywhere near the ice, but he went anyways.
She's so stupid, she's dumb.
And then yeah, so he just kept officiating despite being banned. And he received no consequences for ignoring the ban. Yep, the person who filed the R complaint was bewildered by the inaction, but things were about to get even worse because the woman who filed the allegation had to deal with the Hockey Canada's reporting system, meaning it's really awful. Most people try to avoid the system, like saying anything even happened because of how terrible it is. She recalled one part of the process where she was asked to participate in a hearing where she'd be cross-examined by her alleged artist about the incident. Um, and she said, I was dumbfounded. Had I known this would be part of the process, I would never have filed the complaint, and I cannot encourage others to engage in reporting to the abuse either. Um, and she's one of many advocates and athletes in Canada calling for reform and how assault and abuse in sports is managed by sports organizations. So that is still boiling up, and it's just sort of shocking that somebody had allegations made, was under investigation, was banned from officiating, showed up anyways, and had no consequences. So they're just in the hot seat because, as we recall, they also had the Canadian Junior Hockey League 5, who are facing more allegations. So Lewis over here, um, so he's also on the hot seat because he's in court right now. And he's been heavily criticized by FIFA, who said his victim blaming tactics over um Jenny Hermosa were in line with that of perpetrators of SA. Um, and he's upheld his 3-year he has a 3-year ban. And they're saying that he's in denial about the nature of the incident. Kissing Hermosa without permission. He's appealed against the ban, and which was unsuccessful. And he complained because he compared the length of his ban to those issued to former FIFA president Sepp Blatter, 6 years, and former UEFA president Michael Platini, 4 years, as well as comparing his suspension to Luis Suarez's 4 months for biting a fellow player. Not sure what that has to do with anything. But anyway, they're saying that he punished him too hard. And he says he profoundly regrets the incident and said that she consented to the kiss. And then he said that he told her to forget about the penalty that she had missed before Hermoso replied saying, "You're the best." And then Rubiales asked, "Can I kiss you?" And Hermoso said, "Okay then." And then the kiss occurred, which is like a nah.
Oof.
So he's in the hot seat and he's complaining about how long he's going to be banned because that's what good people do.
Ooh.
Yeah. So Mel Tucker, we're going to talk about him again because we missed some stuff. He actually, okay, this is a lot. So, let me see. Yeah, so after the lady like filed the charge that he had, like SA'd her or like assaulted. Anyways, he started complaining saying that he had like all these health conditions and that he was in such a state of extreme mental distress that he could not speak to the outside attorney investigating him for the SH harassment emails obtained by USA Today shows. So he's like, I can't be investigated. I'm distressed. At the same time, he was flying his private jet at least 17 times during that moment. And he attended 4 baseball games and looked just fine. And he gave multiple on-camera interviews to media outlets, so he could do that but not be investigated. And his actions around the time of those emails is a part of a 1,000-page case file that MSU has tried to keep out of the public eye, which is recently kind of hitting. The records are being leaked, okay? Or not leaked, but shared. Yeah, anyway. So apparently Tucker said he had a ton of health claims. And which explains why the case was dragged on so long, because we were curious about that. It was because said he was yeah, he had health claims. Let's see. They said that the cases should generally be completed within 6 months after a formal complaint is filed, and this one lasted longer than a year. And his assertion of health problems put MSU between a rock and a hard place. Because even if they believed he was fabricating a medical condition, they can't if they had continued to try to interview him, it could be a perception of unfair treatment, which he could, use against the school later.
Right.
Anyway, he first invoked mental health claims in January 2023, 3 weeks after his victim filed a complaint with MSU. And they had interviewed his victim and all 6 witnesses in the case by the end of January 2023. But they couldn't investigate him because he needed to postpone his interview indefinitely because of his extreme mental distress. And then after his victim went public in September of 2022, Tucker again invoked a health condition. He was then suspended without pay. And then he got fired. That was in September. And then they found out they couldn't actually fire him because he'd requested medical leave under the Family and Medical Leave Act for a serious health condition days before MSU told him that he was going to fire him. Yeah, and then a health condition also prevented Tucker from participating in the hearing for the SH case in October, because he wrote a letter in September seeking another delay, blah, blah, blah. Then he got a doctor's note 3 weeks after the hearing that he missed. They decided to fire him anyway and find him guilty, but it's kind of fascinating because he Yeah, in addition, the stress and psychological and emotional impact of participating in these matters would likely exacerbate his illness. We don't actually know if there was ever an illness, and it's really interesting how he waged war with this woman and made the case last twice as long as he could by citing these health conditions that no one knows what they are. So, in case you were wondering why the F did it take so long and what was all the scandal, it's because he was like, I'm sick, even though I'm riding planes, my private jets, and like interviewing and still going to games and stuff. So, anyways, Creeper's Gonna Creep Part 2, allegedly. We got Jerry Jones. His lawyers are trying to postpone the SA lawsuit, the one we talked about recently. And they're trying to postpone it for at least a year for the discovery process, getting like, interviewing, getting what information they have, that kind of thing. And they were also asking for the case to be dismissed. So once again, Jerry Jones is postponing everything. Not a surprise. He
Yeah.
has, I believe it's now 3 cases. One slander, one paternity, and then this SA case. So, and then he's also in other NFL related lawsuits, but he's not being actively sued. He's just like testifying, I think. So, Wander Franco, I'm gonna start throwing things because the lack of information about what's happening over there is so frustrating to me. Um, one of his defense lawyers has withdrawn from the case. He had 2, now he only has 1. That's about all we know. And in a recent article by Juan Carlos Chavez of the Tampa Bay Times, a psychiatrist named Luis Ortego said that the way that some Dominicans view relationships between adults and teens complicate matters. So, we have some apologists who are trying to excuse Wanderer's behavior because apparently in the Dominican Republic, the perception of underage relationships is not as heavily criticized as it is here. And I'm like, no, no, because one, you were here. So it's not like you're unaware of like America's opinion on it and you wanted to play here, so it's probably a good thing to know. And two, I don't think a lot of Dominican people really appreciate the assumption that people are trying to put out there that they think that statutory R is fine. So this psychiatrist, this mental health professional I'm heated. He's gross. They're all gross.
Let's
Okay.
simmer. Let's simmer.
So some unnecessary violence, allegedly. Draymond Green. Yeah, so I don't know if you saw the video, but there's a video from Valentine's Day when Draymond Green was playing against the Clippers. Did you see that when he did the 4-finger? Okay, so there was a very intense screen was seen showing 4 things. He was wielding his 4 fingers towards an unknown party before making a sharp staccato motion, like a stabbing motion.
Oh,
Several fans have argued that this was Green threatening to shank someone. However, others have countered by arguing that Green was merely flexing his 4 championship rings. And I'm just gonna say my take on it is when he was showing his 4 fingers and the rings, it did look like that, but then he made a stabbing motion that to me was threatening.
stabby
Like
stab.
yeah, like the finger flexing made sense to me. It was like I got 4 rings, look at them, but then like the was kind of an extra. So Draymond is doing great, as we can see. And then Petgrave over here, who was arrested for manslaughter, has been rebailed until April of 2024 for Adam Johnson incident. I looked into the English bail system because I wasn't familiar with it. So in England, an initial bail only lasts 3 to 6 months, depending on the complexity of the case. So unlike here, where you can be on bail for years, there it's only a couple of months, and the bail can be extended 9 months, in addition to the 3 to 6 months, without the magistrate or judge authorization, but they can go longer. So anyway, he's back on bail again, so they're they're like pushing the case forward.
Yeah.
And okay, we're on our final slide here. Von Miller here is not a good person to do real estate with, in case you are wondering. Yeah, a man regrets buying his mansion in Denver near the team's headquarters. And Miller here was going to foreclose on the home in Foxfield, in near Denver. He sold the 19,000 square foot home. And the man paid him 3.7 million and financed the purchase with a 3 million loan from Miller himself. So it's supposed to be a bridge loan. So basically he was supposed to pay him back and he didn't. And then he said he wasn't paying because the home hadn't been delivered to him and they agreed upon condition. There was problems with the smart home system, and so he couldn't rent it out for the amount that he wanted. And he was constantly told the property was turnkey ready. So Miller's working this out with him. He's not gonna foreclose, but then yeah, and so he still said he regrets purchasing Miller's mansion. He said, I've done a lot of real estate transactions. I just never dealt with one that was this crazy. Yeah, he said but the house had been on the market for months, and he believes Miller's representatives failed to disclose the defects because they were desperate to sell it. And it was actually featured in a Lifetime series, Married at First Sight, where a couple who gets married without having previously met go to live with each other afterwards. So there we go. Von Miller has a famous house that's been on reality TV. He's a terrible person to do real estate with. I probably wouldn't go public with it because we saw what he did with his significant other, but other people are a little bit more bold. So now we know. And then we're going to finish this out with the Jackie Robinson statue, which I know everybody has been so curious about.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, actually, yeah, like there's actually some interest here. So we have an arrest for the person who stole the Jackie Robinson statue and then lit it on fire in a trash can in a park. Like the following week. So on Monday, a couple of days before Valentine's Day, Ricky Alderete was charged for the theft via a police department Facebook announcement. Yeah, on January 25th, the police received reports that the statue was cut off at the ankles and it was found 4 days later smoking in a trash can. So Alderete, 45, was first taken into custody at the start of the month for a warrant for a different kidnapping case. Yes, let's see. So he's being charged with 4 counts for this. Felony theft because the statue was valued over $25,000. And aggravated criminal damage to property. He's additionally charged with 2 other counts for something else for a 2022 pawn ticket incident. And he's being held on bond. So during a Tuesday press conference, the chief, Joe Sullivan, said that his arrest was only the first one because there was 3 people in the video, and they had investigated and interviewed over 100 people regarding this incident. They say it's not a hate-motivated crime, and instead we believe this theft was motivated by the financial gain of scrapping metal. This man was trying to sell this metal for scrap money. I kind of can't believe that. Anyway, so the GoFundMe closed on February 5th with $190K raised. However, the MLB says that they're gonna replace the statue, so that money is all getting put to like kids programs and sports things. So, we have one person down. Not a hate crime. It was he wanted some scrap metal, which is kind of unbelievable. And yeah, they're still on the hunt for the other 2, but we have somebody who has finally been convicted. So a little less of a secret about what happened to Jackie Robinson, and we look forward to the MLB replacing it. So Ryan, a very long segment. There was a lot of shenanigans this week.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, some weeks there's more than others. Last week was a light week. This week was the opposite. Yep. So anyway, our fans can like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, ding, and let us know what you're thinking about all this craziness. Were you as offended by Kelsey, like, chest bumping his head coach as I was? Or are you a Swiftie who's up in arms? Let us know. You know, this is the stuff that I can't sleep about without knowing, especially. And Jackie Robinson, do you think they'll catch the two other guys? Who knows? Would you ever buy a house from Von Miller? These are the questions. So make sure to comment, let us know what you're thinking. We really appreciate Ryan's friend Josh. What was his? Marshall? Josh Marshall?
Josh Marshall,
Yeah, for showing up and being here for the first segment and also being a part of our tailgate update. And we cannot wait to have him back. And next week, Caleb should be here. So, thank you. And thank you for watching and listening. And we'll be back next week.